ABC 10 News at 7 starts now.
The winter freeze sweeping the country will likely cause another delay at San Diego County's vaccination sites. Good evening, I'm Lindsay Pena in for Kimberly Hunt.
And I'm Steve Atkinson. This afternoon, the county said we could see vaccination sites shut down as early as tomorrow. The Petco Park location reopened just this morning after a shipment problem last week. County officials say that there are nearly 53,000 doses that have not arrived. That number does include part of the Moderna shipment that was delayed last week.
Last week, we literally begged, borrowed, and stole vaccines to keep as much of our system and structure in place as running. And a second set of delays is going to have very significant impacts on our system.
Moderna's facility is in Michigan. Pfizer's is in Massachusetts. The county will reschedule any appointments that have been postponed.
And despite the immediate concerns of supply, the county is confident it will expand to the next tier for vaccinations the first week in March. ABC 10 News reporter Mimi Alcala takes an in-depth look at how the county is preparing for these rapid changes.
People my age that have underlying health conditions, most of them are still working.
According to the California Department of Public Health, starting March 15th, healthcare providers will be able to offer the COVID-19 vaccine to people between the ages of 16 and 64 with serious and specific underlying health conditions, including cancer, chronic kidney disease that's stage 4 or above, chronic pulmonary disease must be oxygen dependent, Down syndrome, immunocompromised state from solid organ transplant, pregnancy, sickle cell disease, certain heart conditions such as heart failure but excluding hypertension, severe obesity, and type 2 diabetes. People with developmental or other severe high-risk disabilities may also be qualified. But is San Diego County prepared for this next group?
I think the plan is, March 15th, that we would, again, it's all dependent upon supply of vaccines in terms of how many appointments are there. But I think that there is a great value in adding.
Supervisor Nathan Fletcher says March 1st, the county plans to be able to open vaccinations to the first group of essential workers like teachers and police officers. Then by March 15th, people with qualifying medical conditions listed by the state can go next. Fletcher did say it would be easier for people to go through their healthcare providers who have access to their medical records, but those who don't have a provider can go through a county site.
I want to stick around for a while.
Lauren Gillihan isn't currently eligible to get a COVID-19 vaccine. She's been worried, locked down at home for nearly a year. And unfortunately, seeing the list of qualified health conditions didn't provide much comfort as her condition was left out.
I have lupus and something called antiphospholipid syndrome. It could be deadly for me if I get COVID.
Her husband has type 2 diabetes, so he may be qualified come March 15th.
How quickly you move through all those is dependent upon the supply.
The California Department of Public Health tells me it's continuing to work with the federal government to increase the state's vaccine supply, but ultimately there are limits to how much vaccine can be manufactured at this point. A spokesperson for Kaiser says while the state's expansion to this next group makes sense, without a significant increase in the vaccine supply from the federal government, it could take months to vaccinate this new population.
I want to hug my kids and see my kids and live life again.
Mimi Alcala, ABC 10 News.
Both Sharp and Palomar Health say they're awaiting county guidance for this next group. We did not immediately hear back from Scripps Health.
More good news from our daily case numbers. They do remain well below 1,000, while our test positivity rate today was 4%. However, another 57 San Diegans have died from COVID-19. That brings that total to just under 3,100. The state is offering new help for people and businesses hit hard by the pandemic. Today, Governor Gavin Newsom announced a new deal with lawmakers. They call it the Golden State Stimulus. It includes $2 billion for grants to small businesses and nonprofits. Restaurants, bars, haircutting, and cosmetology businesses will get fee relief. There will also be a $600 check for low-income Californians who get the Earned Income Tax Credit. The legislature could begin voting on the stimulus next week.
Two UCSD scholars are urging the Biden administration to update the CDC guidelines regarding aerosol particles and COVID-19. ABC 10 News reporter Rena Nakano explains why they say the government needs to catch up to the science.
We wrote this letter to put inhalation front and center.
In a letter to the Biden administration, these scientists say the government must immediately update COVID-19 regulations for people in the workplace. It all starts with acknowledging that the spread of COVID is happening at the microscopic level. Currently, the CDC's website shows that COVID-19 spreads most commonly during close contact through larger respiratory droplets. If you scroll down, it says it can sometimes be spread by airborne transmission. These scientists say it's much more prevalent than that.
Inhaling these small particles is a major way that people are infected.
They're asking the administration to mirror Germany, Australia, and France's new policies that mandate the use of N95 masks to all healthcare workers, not just those in the COVID unit, as well as high-risk workers in confined spaces, such as bus drivers and food processing workers.
Workers are not being offered the kind of protection they need.
They're also urging the government to update OSHA workplace standards on ventilators, respirators, and masks, then use the Defense Production Act to organize a national production and distribution network, and for the public to create a clear face covering standard.
Filterability, wearability, and fit, that the public will be able to judge the quality of the mask they're buying.
UCSD professor Kim Prather says the government needs to act now.
Why aren't you using this? Their answer is we are following the CDC guidelines and they are not adequate right now. And so that's not okay. If we really want to end this pandemic, we have to acknowledge that this virus is spreading through the air, or we are just going to keep yo-yoing back and forth.
Rena Nakano, ABC 10 News.
You can stay on top of any new developments with coronavirus by downloading the 10 News app. A free version is available in the App Store.
Another huge move for the Padres. ABC 10 News has confirmed that the team has signed star shortstop Fernando Tatis Jr. to a 14-year contract extension, the longest in baseball history. That deal is worth $340 million. The 22-year-old Tatis is considered one of the best young players in baseball and finished fourth in the MVP voting last season. Padres pitchers and catchers reported to spring training today as the team embarks on one of its most anticipated seasons ever.
3 people are in the hospital tonight after a devastating crash in Chula Vista. It happened just before 5:30 on Palomar Street and Santa Olivia. Details are still sketchy, but we're told 3 people suffered major injuries, and 2 others were hurt but didn't go to the hospital. Wreckage was strewn all over the street and the intersection is closed. And happening now, people are gathered for a rally in support of recalling Governor Newsom. It started at 6 at the Encore Event Center in Kearney Mesa. The groups Reform California and Reopen California organized that event. Recall supporters say they've already gathered enough signatures to force a special recall election, but the deadline isn't until mid-March.
There are growing concerns about whether a weekend attack on a deputy by 2 inmates at the Vista Jail could have been prevented. Our ABC 10 News investigative reporter Jennifer Kastner discovered the jail cell had not been updated with an additional security measure. We do have a warning. This story has a graphic image.
The Sheriff's Department confirmed that the attack happened when the deputy tried to open the entire cell door, not just a small port or a window to pass along a food tray. Wednesday, new details about the Vista Jail, where Sheriff's Deputy Michael Cacioppo was assaulted Saturday, leaving him with a black eye, bloodied bandages wrapped around his head, and a neck brace. This generic video of the jail was provided to us by the Sheriff's Department. The Vista Jail is the oldest in the county, with housing modules that act as access points to get to rooms full of cells. ABC 10 News learned Wednesday that while module doors have ports built in to slide items through, not all of the cell doors have been updated with built-in ports. This is a photo of the exact cell door at the jail where the attack happened, according to the department. Notice that there is no small delivery port built into it. That means that the whole door must be opened, which is what the department confirms happened last weekend. The deputy was apparently escorting a nurse when an inmate asked him to pass a food tray to other inmates next door. The deputy reportedly opened the entire cell door to pass the tray when 2 inmates rushed him, repeatedly punching and kicking him. The department confirmed that there have been plans to retrofit additional cells with ports, but a spokesperson would not say when that is supposed to happen. Before the pandemic, we're told that deliveries were made through the ports at the front module doors, but now, in order to minimize contact between inmates who are in the same module, items are delivered directly to cells. The sheriff's department declined my request for an interview. The deputy who was injured is apparently at home recovering. Jennifer Kastner, ABC 10 News.
Bail was set at $1 million today for a Solana Beach woman charged with murdering her stepfather. Jade Jenks is accused of killing this man, Butterfly Farms co-founder Thomas Merriman. His body was found inside her home on Nardo Avenue on New Year's Day. Jenks was arrested and has been held without bail ever since. A possible motive for the killing has not been released.